Hello students, how are you? Hope you all are doing well and staying at home. In the previous video of this chapter, we have learned about different indicators. May it be synthetic indicators or natural indicators. And we have also discussed about acids. In this video, we will discuss about the bases and different neutral substances and one of the interesting reaction, that is neutralization reaction, and we will learn about different salts. So let's start the video. First we will start with bases. So what are bases? Bases are opposite of acids. They are bitter in taste, and if you touch the base you will feel it bit slippery, and bases turn red litmus into blue. Some of the important bases are potassium hydroxide, sodium hydroxide, magnesium hydroxide, calcium hydroxide, sodium carbonate, sodium hydrogen carbonate. See, the sodium hydroxide and potassium hydroxide is found in soaps. Magnesium hydroxide is used as antacids, which is found in milk of magnesia. Ammonium hydroxide are used for cleaning windows or glass panels. Then sodium carbonate is actually washing soda, and sodium hydrogen carbonate is baking soda. So these are some of the important and most useful bases. So when bases react with water, they form alkali. So bases means base and water solution is generally known as alkali. Now in case of bases, some of the bases are very strong and some of the bases are very weak, such as like sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide. They are very strong bases, and calcium hydroxide, ammonium hydroxide, magnesium hydroxide, these are weak bases. See, when we were discussing about acid, at that time also we have discussed about weak acid and strong acid. Strong acid are very corrosive. In the same way, bases are also very corrosive. Now there are some substances which are neither acid nor base. Those substances are known as neutral substance. See, if you use any indicator in those substances, those indicator won't change color. Like if you dip red litmus paper in certain neutral solution, then the red litmus will remain red, and if you dip blue litmus, then the blue litmus will remain blue. Some of the examples of neutral substance are, they are like water, mainly the distilled water, then glucose, cane sugar. These are the example of neutral substance. Acids and bases, they are like opposite of each other. Like you can say they are like competitors. The acid have different characteristics and bases do have different characteristics. So they are like opposite to each other. So when an acid reacts with a base, we get a new substance, that is a salt, along with water, and this reaction is known as neutralization reaction. Neutralization reaction means the reaction which neutralizes or nullifies the effects of both acid and bases. See, this type of reaction is exothermic reaction. Now what does the term exothermic means? Exothermic reaction means the reaction in which heat is evolved. Means suppose you are mixing an acid with a base, and if you touch the beaker where you are mixing it, you will find that the beaker will become hot. That means from where this temperature is coming. See, we are not heating the beaker, but the beaker becomes hot, because the reaction between the acid and base, heat is evolved. So in such type of reactions is also known as exothermic reaction, and those reaction in which heat is required, those type of reaction is called endothermic. Those reaction in which you need to apply heat for reaction to proceed, in those type of reaction, that is called endothermic. Endothermic, where we have to give heat. Exothermic, where heat is liberated. Okay, so neutralization reaction is exothermic reaction. One of the most common example of neutralization reaction is the reaction between hydrochloric acid and sodium hydroxide. See, sodium hydroxide is a base and hydrochloric acid is a acid. So if you see the formula of sodium hydroxide, the formula is NaOH. That is, Na stand for sodium, O for oxygen and H for hydrogen. So sodium hydroxide, NaOH. And what is the formula of hydrochloric acid? It is HCl. H stand for hydrogen and Cl stand for chlorine. Now see, what happens in the reaction is, when these two compounds react with each other, we get a new substance, that is NaCl. That is sodium chloride. Now you see, the sodium from sodium hydroxide and the chlorine from hydrochloric acid, they combine to form a different substance, that is NaCl, and NaCl is salt. NaCl, sodium chloride, is also known as common salt. Yes, the salt which we use at home in kitchen. And along with that, water is also liberated. Now see the reaction. In this reaction, the base reacts with acid and forms a new compound, that is salt, and that doesn't have the characteristic of neither acid nor a base. It has a different characteristics. So such type of reaction is known as neutralization reaction. Now this neutralization reaction is, very useful reaction and we use it regularly. Want to know how? See, have you ever seen your father or mother, drinking Digen, a white color solution, or or having some tablets known as Antacids? So what happens? What actually happens? Why they are having these medicines? See, we have already discussed that in the previous chapters in nutrition in animals, that our stomach liberates hydrochloric acid, and that is an acid and strong acid. See, whenever you eat a lot of food, then you may have indigestion, like a lot of acid is liberated. Then what happens? This causes acidity. You feel like a burning sensation in the stomach or in the chest. Then what we have some antacids. Antacids means antacids. Now what are actually these antacids? Antacids are some bases. See, if you have consumed some base, mainly the mild bases, then that base will nullify the effect of acid and you will get the relief. Such a example of such base is magnesium hydroxide, that is also found in milk of magnesia. Even the baking soda is also used as antacids. Next, have you ever been stung by an ant? It hurts, yes or no? And it gives a burning sensation. Ant sting contains formic acid. Whenever an ant bites you, they liberate or they inject formic acid inside your skin. So if you apply a mild paste of baking soda or any calamine solution, then you may get some relief. See, actually this means the ant sting contains formic acid, that is an acid, and if you apply the base such as baking soda or calamine solution, then that will neutralize the effect and you will get the relief. Now, soil treatment. Soil can be naturally acidic or basic, but if too much use of fertilizers and manures make the soil acidic. When the soil is too acidic, they treat the soil with calcium oxide, that is quicklime, or calcium hydroxide, that is slake lime. That will neutralize the effect of acid and make the soil neutral. It might happen that soil may become more basic. Then they may use some natural manures, some fertilizers or manures that may increase the acidity of the soil and thus will make the soil neutral. The factories liberate a large amount of waste water, and those waste water contains a high amount of acids. So if they liberate that water, or they just let go that water in the rivers or ponds, then the river water will become acidic, and that will be dangerous for both the aquatic plants and animal. So before letting go the water into the lakes or river, the company must treat it or reduce the acidity of the water so that it won't harm the aquatic plants and animals. Now, salt. Salt is a substance which is formed during neutralization reaction, the reaction between acid and base. See, it is formed by the components of the acid and base which are reacted in the neutralization reaction. The salt of hydrochloric acids are called chlorides, the salt of sulfuric acids are called sulfates, salt of nitric acid are called nitrates, salt of carbonic acid are called carbonates, and salt of acetic acid are called acidates. Now, if a strong acid reacts with a strong base, it generally forms a neutral salt. Example, the sodium hydroxide when reacts with hydrochloric acid, then it forms NaCl. That is a neutral salt. The salt formed by the reaction between a strong acid and a weak base forms a acidic salt, and if you dissolve that salt in water, we will get an acidic solution. Example of such type of salt are ammonium chloride, ammonium sulfate. The reaction between a strong base and a weak acid forms basic salt. And examples are sodium hydrogen carbonate, sodium carbonates. These are actually basic salt, and if you dissolve this salt in water, you will get a basic solution. That was all in this chapter. Let us recapitulate again. So we have started with indicators. What are indicators? Indicators are substances which or dye which change color when they react with acid or base. We have discussed about litmus paper, we have discussed about China rose indicator, turmeric indicator, and we have also discussed about one artificial or synthetic indicator, that is phenolphthalein. Now, then we have discussed about acids. What are acids? They are generally sour in taste. They conduct electricity, and examples are nitric acid, hydrochloric acid, acetic acid, formic acid. Acid may be strong acid such as hydrochloric acid, nitric acid. They can be weak acid, acetic acid, formic acid. Acids are divided into organic acids and mineral acids. So these are the different type of acids. Then we have discussed about bases. Bases are bitter in taste and they are slippery to touch. So example are sodium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide, which are found in soaps, magnesium hydroxide in milk of magnesia. Then we have discussed about neutral substances such as glucose, distilled water. And we have discussed about an interesting reaction, that is neutralization reaction, which is an exothermic reaction, means it liberates heat, and that involves a reaction between an acid and base, and in that reaction salt is formed. Then we have discussed about neutralization reaction that we used in our daily life. It may be used as antacids, and in case of ant bite, or for the soil treatment. And then we have discussed about salts, the product of an acid and base in neutralization reaction. So this was it. Hope you have understood the chapter, and if you have any queries, you can comment it. I will try my best to resolve your queries. Till then, be at home, be safe. Bye.